You sent the message. You saw the 2 ticks. They went blue. And then, nothing. No reply. No reaction. Just silence. And here's what happened next, whether you noticed it or not. Your heart rate went up. Your thoughts started running. You started replaying what you said, looking for what went wrong. You considered sending a follow-up. Then you stopped yourself. Then you considered it again. That entire spiral in less than 4 minutes. Here's what nobody tells you. You're not being paranoid. Your brain was doing exactly what it was built to do. And understanding why it responds to silence that way will change how you read every relationship in your life. In this video, you're going to discover the real reason your brain treats silence as a threat. Not just in messages, but in meetings, in rooms, in families, and the specific psychological mechanism that turns one quiet moment into hours of mental noise. Stay with me, because what comes next explains something you felt your entire life, but never had the words for. Let's go back about 100,000 years. You're not sitting in your apartment. You're in a small group of maybe 30 people. No wolves, no lux, no backup plan. Your survival depends entirely on those 30 people accepting you, protecting you, feeding you. Now imagine this. You walk into the camp, and everyone goes quiet. They stop talking. Eyes shift. Nobody looks at you directly. In that world, that silence is not awkward. That silence is a signal. It means something is very wrong. It means you may be about to be rejected. And rejection in that context doesn't mean hurt feelings. It means death. Your brain evolved to detect that signal with extraordinary precision. Not just the loud threats, predators, storms, conflict, but the absence of warmth, the withdrawal of social connection, the silence. And here's the critical part. That brain is still inside you, unchanged, running the same software. So when someone reads your message and doesn't reply, your nervous system doesn't process it as a minor inconvenience. It processes it as a potential social threat, with the same urgency your ancestors felt watching their tribe go quiet. This is called social threat detection. And researchers at UCLA found that the pain registered in the brain from social exclusion activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. Let that land for a moment. Being ignored and being punched share circuitry. But here's where it gets even more specific and more uncomfortable. Because it's not just silence from strangers or acquaintances that does this. The closer someone is to you, the louder their silence becomes in your brain. There's a reason an ignored text from your closest friend hits completely differently than an ignored text from a coworker. And the reason has nothing to do with the message. It has everything to do with how your brain calculates social risk. Your brain runs what psychologists call an attachment hierarchy. Without you consciously deciding it, you rank the people in your life by how essential they are to your emotional survival. People at the top of that hierarchy, the ones you love, the ones you depend on, carry more weight in your threat detection system. So when they go silent, the alarm is louder, more insistent, harder to reason your way out of. This is why you can intellectually know that your partner is probably just busy and still feel a creeping sense of dread that something is wrong. The rational part of your brain and the emotional part are running different calculations. And in the short term, the emotional part almost always wins. Now, add this layer. The modern world made silence ambiguous in a way it never was before. In ancient social groups, silence had a clear context. You could see the person. You could read their face, their body, the space between you. The silence told you something concrete. Today, silence is invisible. You don't know if they're busy, hurt, angry, distracted, or if they simply forgot. The silence contains no information, and your brain, desperate for data to assess the threat level, fills that void with whatever story makes the most evolutionary sense. Usually, the worst one. Psychologists call this ambiguity amplification. In the absence of clear signals, the brain defaults to threat narratives. Not because you're anxious or broken, because in your ancestors' world, overestimating a social threat was safer than underestimating it. It was better to assume the tribe was angry at you and be wrong, than to assume everything was fine and be cast out. That survival logic runs in you constantly. Every unopened message, every meeting where you spoke and nobody responded, every room where the conversation shifted just as you arrived. But there's a specific type of silence that doesn't happen by accident, one that someone uses deliberately, consciously or not, as a form of control. And once you understand how it works inside your nervous system, you will never experience it the same way again. It's called the silent treatment. And while it looks passive, its effect on the nervous system is anything but. When someone who matters to you withdraws communication deliberately, stops responding, stops acknowledging your presence, erases you from their social field, your brain goes into a specific form of distress that researchers have studied extensively. Dr. Kipling Williams at Purdue University spent over 2 decades researching what happens to people when they're ostracized, socially ignored, or excluded. What he found was striking. Even brief periods of being ignored activated threat responses in the brain within minutes. People reported feeling less in control, less meaningful, less connected to others. And here's the part that has direct relevance to your relationships. The silent treatment works precisely because of the ancient wiring we just walked through. It weaponizes your brain's social threat detection. It forces your nervous system into a state of hypervigilance, scanning constantly for any sign of reacceptance, any indication that you're safe again. Which means the person using silence doesn't need to say a word to affect you deeply. Your own brain does the work. Understanding this doesn't make the pain disappear, but it does something important. It relocates it. The distress you feel isn't a character flaw. It isn't weakness. It's your brain doing what brains do, fighting for social survival with tools it built over millennia. The moment you recognize that you gain something the silent treatment is designed to take from you, perspective, you can feel the alarm and still choose not to act from it. You can acknowledge the discomfort without letting it rewrite your self-narrative. You can give the silence less power, not by pretending it doesn't affect you, but by understanding exactly why it does. That gap between feeling the pull and choosing your response is where your actual freedom lives. So the next time silence hits you, remember, your brain is not betraying you. It's protecting you, the way it always has, with tools built for a world that no longer exists, but instincts that are still, somehow, trying to keep you safe. If something in this video named something you felt but never had language for, share it with one person who needs to hear it. That's it. That's the whole ask. And if you want to keep understanding the hidden forces shaping your behavior every day, the next video is already waiting for you.